I've got a big bag of wool here, a little worse for wear, that has arrived from Bendigo Woolen Mills, which is the yarn that I ordered for the temperature. I guess it's really a shawl or a wrap. It's knit in the round and then it's steeped. So let's see what colours have come. Since I ordered this, I have actually ordered another colour. I've been keeping a track of the colours, and our temperatures are just so consistent here at the moment. And my blanket was going to be sort of all one colour for the first couple of weeks in January. So I did spread out the temperatures a little bit more just so I could get some colour variation. So I have had to order another colour. Right. So my cream, which I thought was out of stock, is not. So that's going to be the border. So I can actually start. So you can see it's their 10 ply, which is a, I think 10 ply is heavier than a worsted weight. Maybe it's Aran weight. So in the luxury yarn, which is 100% wool. I don't, well, it does say warm machine wash. There's not as many colour choices in the luxury 10 ply, but I prefer this to the classic range. The classic is a crepe spun wool, and I just do not enjoy working with that. So I've got my cream. I've got colours that I probably won't use, depending on how extreme our temperature gets, like the very, possibly. I think anything over 36 degrees, I'm working in Celsius, anything over 36 is going to be in black. We might get a couple of days in the black. I think my next colour from the high temperatures, from the black, may not be in stock. Let me just see what I've got. Okay, yep, there's my next one, which is boysenberry. Then next colour, the tag has broken off. I was just rummaging in the bag for it. Love Heart, which is the red. Then I go to Pumpkin Spice. Then Curry. So far for January, the majority of the, today's the 20th, I think. Majority of the blanket will be in Curry with a couple of stripes of the Pumpkin Spice. And I think maybe one stripe so far of Clover. Then I have Coastal Blue, which is the colour I've just ordered. So I don't have that to show you. Aquarium. Coastal Blue. Oh, it's shut. This aquarium is showing quite blue on the camera, but it's sort of a pale teal. And going by their website, the Coastal Blue, which would be the colour to come here, is a darker version of this. And then my next colour is Moonflower. So I think anything below 16 degrees or 15 degrees Celsius will be in the Moonflower. So these are the colder months. So it won't be till the middle of the year that these will probably come into play, and the Coastal Blue. So I'm not too worried about that. It has been shipped, so it'll be here next week sometime. And then I would say the majority of the blanket is going to be these sort of colours. That's sort of the temperature range that we're in most of the year, maybe down to the Coastal Blue a little bit. And then as the weather warms up, we'll get a few stripes of these other darker colours. And then the cream is going to be the border, top and bottom. Because this is knit in the round and then it is steeked, the way the edges a handle is there is a fringe along the whole length of it on both sides, which is one of the reasons why I chose this particular pattern, because it is knit in the round. So that's a lot easier. And even though the rows are going to be the same length, but doing in the round, they just, I don't know, to me, they appear shorter. And I want to try steeking this year. So this will be a good project to do that on. And then there's no ends to weave in. It's just fringing at both ends. So that's my colour palette there for the temperature wrap, with a darker version of this to come in there. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to cast on and yeah, get going. So I've got something to show you. Good morning. Hope everyone is well. Just a bit of an update on what I've been making this week. I've got the door open and it is raining, so I'm sorry if that gets a bit noisy. I've been working on my half and half wrap for the Mad About You knit along. I'm doing mine in 6 colours. I think it's called the striped garter triangle half and half wrap. I was hoping I would be changing colours, but not yet. I'm using the linen quill by Pearl Soho, and this colour is called Purple Smoke. So I've got 3 colours that are in this sort of range. I've got one that's lighter and one that's darker, and then my other 3 colours are a cream, charcoal, and another shade of grey. So yeah, I'm hoping to get to the next colour soon, but this is where I am up to. So it is coming along. Oops, don't want to lose any stitches. Yeah, so I do a little bit on that each week, not too much. It's just sort of, you know, something in the background. I'm not working on it consistently or working on it every day or anything like that. Wearing a ranunculus. This one is in, I think it's a Quince & Co linen, Kestrel maybe. Yeah, which I really like the linen, but you can see it's quite see-through, and with the lace coming quite far down, I have to wear a camisole under it, which can make it a bit warm in summer. So it's not one that I wear as much as what I was hoping to wear. But anyway, yeah, so that's the ranunculus. The other summery sort of top I've been working on, I was going to do some more ranunculi, but I decided to try something a bit different. This is called the Stevie, and do I have the pattern? Yes, it's by elizabethsmithnits.com. I'm knitting it in a Joe Sharp Aran cotton, so it is going to be quite heavy, but I think being a cotton, it shouldn't be too bad to wear in summer. The original pattern has some eyelets that go out into like a triangle shape, and there is some A-line shaping. I'm just knitting straight down. So I'm just working on the body now, and then I'll come back and add some short sleeves, maybe elbow length, maybe a bit more. I'll see how much of the yarn I've got left. So that's my Stevie. The other thing I started on this week was the temperature blanket, temperature shawl. I'm trying to find the pattern for that, which I don't have with me. I'll let you know who the designer is when I grab that pattern. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm not sure what she calls this one. The designer's name is Shanty Stitches, and I found the pattern on Ravelry. I'm knitting in the curry colourway at the moment, which is going to be mostly what I knit in over the next couple of weeks, I guess, till the weather changes. So this is actually knit in the round, and it's going to be steeked. So some steeking will occur here, and then these steeked stitches will actually be left as fringing, I guess you could call it. So the fringing will go along the long sides of this blanket or wrap, whatever it turns out to be. So it's got the creamy colour as a border of rib, and that'll be at top and bottom, and then the colour changes for each day. So I think I'm up to about day 13 or 14 of January, so I'm about a week behind at the moment, because I was waiting for the yarn to arrive. But yeah, I'm doing it at a fairly loose gauge. I thought about going down a needle size. This is what's recommended in the pattern, and I did think about going down a needle size, but no, I think I want it quite drapey, and that will make it sort of a bit bigger as well. It's hard to tell how big it's going to be at the moment when it's on this smaller needle, but I think it'll be a decent size once it comes off the needle, and you know, it is quite drapey. So yeah, there was another pattern I found when I was looking at, I think because I had been looking at temperature blankets, it came up in my feed only recently, and it's a new pattern that's been put out by Suzanne Summers. She's also known as Sosu on Instagram and Ravelry, and it's called Planet A Climate Change Shawl. I've only printed out little bits, little certain pages, just to get an idea of what it was about and what yarn was required. So it's a pattern for either a shawl or a scarf, and it's done in Shetland Spindrift, which is a Jamieson's yarn, which is quite a woolly wool. I think one of the reasons that I think Jamieson's has been chosen is because it has a great range of colours. So I think there were 16 colours that were suggested, and instead of like a normal temperature blanket or temperature scarf where you do a colour for the temperature of each day, this is done it's going to be done in these chevrons. There is one chevron for each month, and you have a choice of either a brioche stitch pattern or a garter stitch pattern. And what it is, it's not the temperature that you're recording, but it is more climate change. So Suzanne has given some websites that you can go to find your country or region. Excuse me. So I've looked it up, and I've been able to find like Australia as a whole country, or I could do Sydney, which is the capital of the state I'm in, or I could do Brisbane, which is the capital of a neighbouring state that I'm actually closer to. So I'm not sure yet. I'm not even sure yet whether I'm going to do it, but I thought it was quite interesting, because what you do is you look at the average temperature for the month, and then you compare it to historical averages for that month. So I can't start until this month is over anyway to get the average temperature for January. Then you compare that to the average historical temperatures, and I think it was from, I don't think it's on here, like the website that she gave, the temperatures were from 1990 to 1920 maybe. So you look at the average temperature of the current month compared to the historical average temperature and what the difference is. So you can see here she's got Celsius and Fahrenheit. And if the temperature difference is, if there's no temperature difference between the current month's average temperature and historically, then that's the colour suggested. And then it goes up and down in 0.5 degrees Celsius or 1 degree Fahrenheit is the range she's given. So I looked at Sydney for last year, comparing the average monthly temperatures historically, and they differed from negative 1.4 degrees to positive 1.7. So I don't know whether I'm explaining it very well, but say the average temperature for this month is 27 degrees Celsius. In the past, the average historically might have been 26. So what that means is it'll be plus 1 degree Celsius. So I would choose the colour that corresponds to that, and that's what I knit the chevron in for this month. So what you're looking at is not what the actual temperature is, it's not what the average temperature for the month is, but how it compares historically, whether the temperature is increasing compared to in the past or whether it's decreasing compared to in the past. So yeah, I think the idea with this is that it becomes a talking piece, can encourage conversation about climate, and gives a visual representation of whether climate's changing. I don't know how, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm sure in history temperature is going up and down, and it would be something that you would have to look at, like whether 10 years ago, if the temperature compared to 20 years before that was going up and down, to get a good idea of just exactly what this is showing. But I thought it was an interesting exercise, and I probably will do it. Yeah, but you can follow the hashtag over on Instagram. It's a bit of a noisy car, sorry. Which is Knit Planet A, and be interested to see around the world what sort of temperatures changes we're getting. So that's something else I've been looking at. Yeah, so you've probably seen that little video I did where I got the yarns from Bendigo Woolen Mills for my temperature blanket. That really bumped up my stash for the month. So you might know I've been doing my stash in and my stash out. Currently my stash in stands at 7,000, I'm looking up at my whiteboard, 7,478 metres have come in. Out is only 1,180. So I've got a surplus of nearly 6,300 metres, but that's fine. What I'm going to do, I put a short up, and it showed like this fabric that I've just taken off my loom, which was about 8 metres of fabric. I didn't count any. I think I counted one skein because I knew I had a whole skein of fingering weight that I put into that, but I didn't count any of the other yarns that were in that, because I just don't know what they were. If you look at that short, you'll see there's little bits and pieces of everything. So there will be yarn going out that is not going to be counted on my stash down score. I've just rewarped my loom, and the warp I've put on is a warp that I made, so I know, and I'm going to be weaving it with that yarn as well. So I've got 5 skeins. I've got one sitting on the floor that's attached to the warp because I'm doing the technique I'm doing, it's attached. So I've got these 4, and the other one is a darker, really quite dark blue. These are from Trichomat Yarns, which is an Australian company. I don't know whether they're still in business. I'll have to have a look. I haven't can't remember seeing any their posts on Instagram. So I've got those 4 and a darker one of that. So that's what I created the warp from, and that's what I'll be weaving with. So when I finish this piece, which will be about 3 to 4 meters, I'll take that off the loom and I'll be able to weigh it, and I'll be able to see how many meters I've used, because I know exactly what has gone into the warp and weft of this piece. So that one will count on my stash down, which will be great. So sometimes weaving will count, sometimes it won't. So my actual meterage for the month, if I'm weaving a lot, is probably going to be underestimated, which is good. But at the moment, I'm looking at about 6,300 meters has come in compared to what's gone out. So hopefully I've got the temperature blanket, I've got the weaving on the loom, I'm doing a few other bits and pieces that will use up quite a bit of yarn. So hopefully that stash down figure will start to go down. There is a new make-along starting. I think it starts on the 1st of February, and it's called, the hashtag they're using is Go Big or Go Home, MAL, and it's run by Kathy from Whatnot and Julia from 9 Crafty 11 on Instagram. And the idea is just what it says, go big or go home. So they're doing a sweater coat, which I can't remember the name of at the moment, nostalgic sweater coat, which looks really lovely, but I don't have the yarn to make it. I would have to bring yarn in, which I don't want to do at the moment. So you can also work on whips. So I will be digging out my Luella dress, which is that teal colored dress that has some beading on around the neckline, the bodice, and I think it has beading on the hem as well. It's mostly stockinette, has a bit of a lace pattern at the top. It's got some lace on the hem and lace on the sleeves. So I'm getting that out, and I hope to get as much of that done as I can. It's a 2-month, I think it's a 2-month make along. I don't think, with everything else I've got going on, I don't think I'll get the dress finished in 2 months. It would be great if I could, but when I do get it finished, that will take quite a few meters out of my stash. So yeah, go over to Instagram and either look at Kathy or Julia's account, Whatnot. I think it's spelled WHOT, KNOT, and 9 Crafty 11, or check out the hashtag Go Big or Go Home, MAL. Or you can look at my Instagram, Yarn About Yarn, and I'll have a post about that. So see if you want to join in that make along, or follow along to see people making this nostalgic sweater coat, or what other big projects they're making. Yeah, I think that's all I've got on my list to do at the moment. I'd love to start that Dando top that I was talking about last week, but I've got too many other things on the needle. I don't need a new cast on just yet. That's not to say it won't happen, but yeah, I think I've got enough going on. I need a sip of tea for my throat. Yeah, so I think that's probably about it. Hopefully get some more weaving done. I still haven't sewn any of my woven fabric. I'm just a bit scared to cut into it and start sewing it, I think, in case I mess it up. But I've been going down a big Pinterest rabbit hole looking at different Saori clothing, and got this book, which it's a knitting journal, but I don't use it as a knitting journal. But I have just been making lots of I don't know whether you can see them because they're in pencil, just drawings and notes about some possible sari garments that I want to make. So yeah, maybe next time I talk to you I'll have been brave and cut into my fabric. Okay, so I guess that's about it. Take care everyone, hope you're all well and getting some making done, and I'll chat to you next time. Bye. I've just picked up this vintage weaving loom, which is a child's toy for ages 6 to 12, and I thought it might be a fun thing to have, maybe for sampling some colours, or yeah, just having a play. So thought I'd see if I could set it up. Just looking at the box, let's see. This bit just seems to fit in anywhere pretty much. That looks like it would change the shed. And yeah, I'll just set this up here, and I'll grab out the book and we'll see if we can get this warped up. So here's the book here, the Snazzy Cat Weaving Loom by Advance. It's actually an Australian, made in Australia, which is really cool. It's got instructions on the back about making a scarf, a pot holder, a headband, hat strap. So let's see. 5 simple steps. Okay. Tie a loop at one end of your ball of yarn and slip it over the end tooth on the rear warp beam. I'm just going to use this paint box cotton. And it says to tie a loop at one end and slip it over the end tooth on the rear warp beam. So I'm just going to pop it on there. Okay, pass the yarn through the harness beater frame so the thread fits into the first slot of the warp spacer comb and continue to the front warp beam. My ball of yarn might be a bit too big, but we'll see how we go. It's got to go through there. And fitting through the first slot. Pass the yarn around the first tooth and return through the harness beater frame. Always be sure that the yarn is placed into the next slot of the warp spacer comb and continue to the rear warp beam. Repeat until it's filled. Tie the yarn to the last tooth on the rear warp beam. Okay, I'll see how we go with this, and I'll probably speed it up for you. Okay, I've ended up thinking about what I was doing and thinking about direct warping a rigid heel loom, and I've just left the ball at the rear of the loom and just pulling it through, which is so much easier. All right, I just tied that off at the back there, and there's no way of tensioning the warp on this, so I haven't made it too tight, but just tried to keep it consistent. And just checking the shedding device on there, which is pretty good. It's not that stable, but yeah, we'll see how it goes when I start weaving. So I've got a couple of plastic shuttles. I'll just wind some of this pink cotton on, and we'll see how we go. We might make a little face cloth or something out of it. I've just turned the loom around. When I read the instructions, it says to, after you've passed the shuttle through, to pull the harness beater frame towards the front of the loom. This will push the thread up against the front warp beam to start the woven material. In other words, it's how we're going to beat. So this whole thing comes up to beat that into place. I don't know how I'd go if I didn't have any weaving experience. Whether a 6 to 12-year-old child, I guess a younger child would have the parents helping them, but a 12-year-old, the diagrams aren't that clear. Like the diagram in the actual book looks like it was set up around the other way, but looking at the picture on the front of the box, it is set up this way. Yeah, but seems pretty straightforward, and I think I probably need a heavier weight, maybe a wool or something, but I just thought just to quickly see what it's like straight out of the box, I just grabbed what I had closest to me, which was this cotton. But yeah, you can see it's working okay. So I think that would be great for doing some sampling of colours. We'll see how far we get with this.